What if I told you that a narcissist doesn't care about love, commitment, or connection, and will use sex purely as a weapon and a boost to their ego? You've probably seen it. A narcissist seducing anyone who crosses their path. But there's a reason behind this behavior that goes far deeper than just lust. If you want to understand the psychology behind narcissists' sexual behavior and how to protect yourself from being manipulated, hit subscribe. Recognizing these patterns is the first step in reclaiming your power and safeguarding your emotional and physical well-being. Narcissists have an insatiable need for external validation, and sex is one of the most immediate and tangible ways they can achieve it. Their self-esteem is fragile and highly dependent on how others perceive them, which means they constantly seek experiences that affirm their worth, attractiveness, and desirability. Sexual encounters become a tool to receive admiration, attention, and confirmation that they are powerful, desirable, and in control. Unlike people who derive self-esteem from internal measures or meaningful connections, narcissists rely heavily on external feedback to feel whole, and sex provides instant reinforcement. This validation is rarely about connection, intimacy, or love. It's about ego gratification. The narcissist gauges their appeal through others' reactions, whether it's desire, envy, or emotional response, and each encounter reinforces their sense of superiority. The more people they can seduce or attract, the more their self-image feels bolstered, creating a cycle where sexual conquest becomes a key mechanism to feed their ego. Because their sense of self-worth is so externally dependent, a narcissist is rarely selective in ways that most people would consider moral or ethical. They may pursue multiple partners simultaneously, exploit vulnerability, or manipulate others into sexual situations if it enhances their sense of desirability or power. Each sexual encounter, no matter how fleeting, is another piece of evidence that they are capable, attractive, and influential, allowing them to stave off the deep-seated insecurity beneath the confident exterior. In essence, for a narcissist, sex is validation in its rawest form, a mirror reflecting their desirability, power, and control back to them. It's less about connection and more about preserving the fragile ego that drives every interaction. Narcissists often use sex as a tool for control, manipulation, and asserting dominance over others. For them, sexual encounters are rarely about connection or mutual pleasure. Instead, they are a means to achieve a specific psychological outcome. Engaging in sex allows the narcissist to reinforce their power and influence over another person, creating a sense of control that feeds their ego. By guiding or orchestrating the encounter, they can manipulate emotions, expectations, and vulnerabilities to their advantage. This drive for control manifests in many ways. A narcissist may use seduction to establish dependency, create jealousy, or test the boundaries of a partner's loyalty. They are skilled at identifying what will entice someone, exploit their insecurities, and turn intimacy into a tool for domination. Even casual encounters serve this purpose. Each conquest reinforces the idea that they are desirable, irresistible, and capable of influencing others to act according to their will. Because narcissists are emotionally detached, they can engage in these behaviors without guilt, remorse, or concern for the other person's well-being. Their focus is entirely on the outcome, the validation, the power, and the sense of superiority gained through sexual encounters. Emotional consequences for the other person are irrelevant. What matters is how the encounter elevates the narcissist's sense of self. In short, sex for a narcissist is not an expression of intimacy, but a strategic tool. It is an instrument of influence and control that allows them to dominate, manipulate, and reinforce their ego, making every encounter a calculated step in maintaining their perceived power and superiority. A key reason narcissists are able to pursue sexual encounters so freely is their emotional detachment. Unlike most people, who experience intimacy as a blend of emotional connection, vulnerability, and trust, narcissists separate the physical act from emotional involvement. This detachment allows them to engage sexually without guilt, remorse, or concern for the feelings of others. They view sex as a transaction, a way to achieve validation, assert control, or fulfill desire, rather than a mutual or meaningful experience. This emotional distance makes them uniquely capable of pursuing multiple partners, casual encounters, or impulsive sexual behavior without the internal constraints that guide most people. While others may hesitate out of concern for consequences, emotional bonds, or moral considerations, the narcissist remains focused on the reward, admiration, attention, or ego reinforcement. Their detachment also protects them from empathy, which might otherwise make them reluctant to exploit someone's vulnerability or manipulate a sexual encounter. Moreover, emotional detachment enables narcissists to compartmentalize. They can separate their physical needs and desires from any relational or ethical considerations, treating sexual encounters as isolated experiences rather than meaningful connections. This compartmentalization allows them to maintain a confident, untroubled exterior while pursuing behaviors that would create conflict or guilt in most people. In essence, emotional detachment is what frees the narcissist to sleep with anyone without concern for connection, commitment, or consequences. By divorcing the act from feelings, they transform sex into a tool for ego gratification, manipulation, and validation, a mechanism that serves their needs while leaving empathy and intimacy completely aside. Narcissists have a compulsive need for attention and admiration, and sex is one of the most immediate ways to satisfy that craving. They thrive on being desired, envied, and noticed, and sexual encounters offer instant confirmation of their attractiveness and power. This need for external validation is relentless. It doesn't matter who the attention comes from, as long as it reinforces their self-image and provides a sense of superiority. Because narcissists are primarily motivated by ego gratification, sexual encounters become a performance. Each interaction is an opportunity to be admired, to feel irresistible, and to assert dominance over another person's desires and emotions. The thrill of being desired by someone new feeds their sense of importance and fuels the illusion of invincibility. Even fleeting encounters, casual flings, or one-night stands serve this purpose, providing proof that they are capable of attracting and captivating others. Their compulsive drive often manifests as impulsivity. A narcissist may seek out sexual attention without regard for consequences or commitments, because the immediate gratification of being admired outweighs any potential risk. This impulsivity is a direct result of their insatiable desire for attention and affirmation. Ultimately, the narcissist's need for admiration ensures that sex is never purely about intimacy or connection. It is a tool to maintain ego, assert dominance, and satisfy a constant hunger for validation. Every encounter, regardless of who it involves, is part of a calculated effort to bolster self-esteem and reinforce their identity as someone desirable, powerful, and untouchable. For a narcissist, intimacy is rarely about emotional connection and more about ego gratification. They do not seek closeness, vulnerability, or mutual understanding in sexual relationships. Instead, they view sex as a way to boost their self-image, feel desired, and reinforce their sense of power. The emotional needs of their partner are secondary, if considered at all. This approach makes sexual encounters transactional. Every interaction is measured by how it serves the narcissist's sense of superiority or validation. They may manipulate, charm, or seduce others to achieve this goal, using intimacy as a means to an end rather than an end in itself. Emotional detachment allows them to pursue these encounters without guilt, while their focus on ego gratification ensures that sex functions primarily as a tool to reinforce their self-worth. Because intimacy is disconnected from genuine emotional connection, narcissists are free to pursue multiple partners, casual flings, or impulsive sexual adventures. Each encounter confirms their desirability and maintains the illusion of control over others' emotions and attention. They often exploit the vulnerabilities of those they engage with, drawing on the power imbalance to maximize their sense of dominance and satisfaction. In essence, sexual intimacy for a narcissist is less about love or connection and more about proving something to themselves, that they are irresistible, in control, and admired. Their sexual behavior is a reflection of their insatiable need for ego reinforcement, making every encounter a carefully or impulsively calculated act of self-validation rather than an authentic mutual exchange. For a narcissist, intimacy is rarely about emotional connection and more about ego gratification. They do not seek closeness, vulnerability, or mutual understanding in sexual relationships. Instead, they view sex as a way to boost their self-image, feel desired, and reinforce their sense of power. The emotional needs of their partner are secondary, if considered at all. This approach makes sexual encounters transactional. Every interaction is measured by how it serves the narcissist's sense of superiority or validation. They may manipulate, charm, or seduce others to achieve this goal, using intimacy as a means to an end rather than an end in itself. Emotional detachment allows them to pursue these encounters without guilt, while their focus on ego gratification ensures that sex functions primarily as a tool to reinforce their self-worth. Because intimacy is disconnected from genuine emotional connection, narcissists are free to pursue multiple partners, casual flings, or impulsive sexual adventures. Each encounter confirms their desirability and maintains the illusion of control over others' emotions and attention. They often exploit the vulnerabilities of those they engage with, drawing on the power imbalance to maximize their sense of dominance and satisfaction. In essence, sexual intimacy for a narcissist is less about love or connection and more about proving something to themselves, that they are irresistible, in control, and admired. Their sexual behavior is a reflection of their insatiable need for ego reinforcement, making every encounter a carefully or impulsively calculated act of self-validation rather than an authentic mutual exchange. Narcissists are often driven by thrill-seeking and risk-taking tendencies, which strongly influence their sexual behavior. For them, the excitement of pursuing someone new, breaking social norms, or engaging in taboo or impulsive encounters creates a surge of adrenaline that reinforces their sense of power and invincibility. The unpredictability and challenge of conquest are not just about sexual gratification. They are about proving to themselves that they can dominate, attract, and control others regardless of the circumstances. This thrill-seeking is closely tied to their ego and need for validation. Each risky encounter or impulsive conquest serves as proof that they are desirable, irresistible, and superior. It creates a feedback loop where the exhilaration of the pursuit and the affirmation of success fuel further impulsive sexual behavior. Narcissists often seek out situations where they can assert dominance or elicit strong reactions, as these interactions provide both stimulation and reinforcement of self-worth. Risk-taking also allows narcissists to detach from consequences that might inhibit others. Emotional or relational risks, such as betrayal, rejection, or social judgment, are secondary to the immediate reward of attention, validation, or power gained through sexual encounters. Their focus remains on the thrill and the ego boost, rather than on meaningful connection or long-term outcomes. In essence, a narcissist's impulsive and thrill-seeking sexual behavior is an extension of their need for validation, dominance, and excitement. It is not motivated by intimacy or affection, but by the psychological rewards of conquest, admiration, and the rush of proving to themselves and others that they are irresistible and in control. For a narcissist, patterns of promiscuity are not random. They serve to reinforce their perceived power, desirability, and self-worth. Each sexual encounter, whether brief or casual, acts as evidence that they are attractive, influential, and capable of controlling the attention and emotions of others. Promiscuity becomes a behavioral pattern that validates their grandiose self-image and confirms, over and over, that they are superior in social and sexual contexts. This repetitive behavior is closely tied to their ego. By engaging with multiple partners, often without emotional attachment, narcissists create a sense of omnipotence and invincibility. Every conquest, every flirtation, and every act of seduction strengthens their belief in their own desirability and reinforces their internal narrative of power. It becomes less about the actual sexual act and more about the psychological reinforcement it provides. Promiscuity also serves a social function. It signals to others that they are desired, envied, and unattainable. This further feeds their need for validation and admiration, creating a feedback loop in which sexual behavior and ego gratification are intertwined. Narcissists often exploit this cycle, using it to maintain control over how they are perceived, while simultaneously satisfying their own compulsive need for attention and dominance. In short, patterns of promiscuity are a deliberate tool in a narcissist's psychological arsenal. They are not motivated by intimacy or love, but by the need to confirm power, desirability, and control. Every encounter is a calculated or impulsive act that reinforces the ego, perpetuates their grandiosity, and ensures that their self-image remains untouchable and dominant. When you look at a narcissist's sexual behavior, it becomes clear that it is never about intimacy, love, or mutual connection. Every encounter, whether brief or prolonged, serves the same purpose: to validate their ego, assert control, and confirm their desirability. Their compulsive need for attention drives them towards sexual conquests without regard for emotional consequences, moral considerations, or the feelings of others. What outsiders might see as promiscuity or impulsivity is actually a carefully or instinctively calculated method to reinforce their sense of power and self-worth. Emotional detachment allows them to engage freely and repeatedly, while their ability to exploit vulnerabilities ensures that they can manipulate situations to their advantage. Thrill-seeking and risk-taking amplify the intensity of these encounters, giving the narcissist a psychological high that feeds their grandiosity. By seeking admiration from multiple sources, they maintain the illusion of invincibility and desirability, which sustains the fragile self-esteem that underlies their personality. Each conquest becomes proof to themselves and others that they are powerful, irresistible, and in control. It is essential to understand that a narcissist's sexual behavior is not a reflection of passion or connection. It is a strategic, ego-driven mechanism. Recognizing this dynamic is critical for protecting yourself from manipulation and exploitation. Boundaries, awareness, and emotional self-protection are the only tools that neutralize their control. By seeing the underlying motivations, you can understand their behavior without being drawn into it, preserving your emotional well-being and maintaining clarity in a world where narcissists often use sex as a weapon, a tool, and a mirror for their fragile egos.